Can you save your marriage right now, even if your spouse is unwilling to put in the effort and try and save it with you? And if it is possible, how do you rebuild your marriage so that it becomes even stronger than before? Hi YouTube, I'm Brad Browning here, as you guys know, and it's been a while since I released a marriage-saving video, so I've decided to make one on one of the most asked about marriage topics, which, as I just alluded to, is how to save your marriage when your spouse is unwilling to do so. Now, as a lot of you I'm sure know, marriage issues can be really complex. They can range from everything from sex, children, money, to family and intimacy, and a whole wad of other things. But there are a few key things that you can do right now, no matter what your situation is, to start to make some improvements, to start putting your marriage on the right track again. And of course, fixing a marriage does take time, so I can't promise that these techniques that I'm about to talk about are going to fix things overnight. I mean, they probably won't. But what I can assure you is that with enough time and effort, using these strategies, you are going to be able to turn the tide, even if your spouse isn't willing to put in the effort right now. So ladies and gentlemen, get out your pens and pencils and take notes, because what I'm about to talk about and the tips I'm about to reveal in this video may help you save your marriage and your family. Now first, I quickly want to go over some of the things you should not do. And number one in that category, you should never make the situation worse by inciting arguments or disputes. Although in order to mend your marriage fully, you both have to communicate your issues and have open lines of honest communication. That is true. However, bringing up an extremely touchy subject at this point when things are going very poorly in your marriage is probably only going to make matters worse. Second, now is not really the time to be overly emotional about everything. When your marriage is on the rocks, I know it can be really stressful, but you need to do your best to keep a straight face and concentrate on how you can actually improve your situation rather than getting lost in the emotion. Third, don't make fixing your marriage about fixing your spouse. Although it does take two to tango, right now you really just need to concentrate on yourself. So everything else is going to fall into place later on. So for now, just focus on what's within your own control. And now before I get on to what you actually want to be doing to fix your marriage, those tips that I mentioned earlier, and how to save your marriage without your partner's help, I want to quickly tell you about my free quiz tool. I've developed one just recently, and that quiz tool is going to help you determine your approximate chance of fixing your marriage. It's going to tell you what your odds are of patching things up with your spouse. And basically, based on the answers that you input when you take the quiz, you're going to be given a custom tailored plan on exactly what you can do to save your marriage starting today. So I do recommend you take that quiz. It only takes 5 minutes. It's completely free. Just head over to www.marriageguy.com/quiz, marriageguy.com/quiz, and you can take that quiz right now. So head on over there after you finish watching this video and take the quiz. Okay, so now that you know a few common mistakes that a lot of people make when they're trying to fix their marriage, let's talk about some key actions that you want to be taking right now moving forward that are going to make a positive impact. Tip number one is what I call the marital positive feedback loop. Now this is a technique that you can use on your own, completely on your own right now to help rebuild your marriage, even if your spouse isn't interested in that. So what exactly do I mean by positive feedback loop? Well, to better explain, think of your spouse as a mirror. And whatever you do to this mirror, it's going to reflect back the exact same behaviors. So by treating your spouse with kindness and love, you're going to in turn receive that behavior back from your spouse, just like a mirror. And if you start nagging or arguing with your spouse, conversely, expect a negative response, a negative treatment in return. It really seems like such an easy piece of advice, to be kind and basically portray what you want your spouse to do. But it can be really difficult to put this into practice. However, it is a very effective strategy. Tip number two, prepare to compromise. If your marriage is on the rocks and your spouse is being sensitive or touchy, now really isn't the time to push those boundaries. Like I said at the beginning of the video, you don't want to cause too much drama. Now really isn't the time. So instead, just be prepared to compromise on certain things. If he or she's in a bad mood, do the chores yourself. Don't do those actions with a bad attitude or basically make your spouse feel guilty. Just do your best to contribute to the marriage in any positive way you can. And sooner or later, your spouse is actually going to see those changes that you've made and will hopefully, and this often does happen, turn the corner and begin to become willing to work on other areas of your relationship and rebuild a better connection and bond moving forward. Tip number three, one of my favorites, is to reframe your arguments. I mean, sooner or later, disputes and arguments and bickering, those are inevitably going to occur in any marriage. And when they do, you need to maintain a calm, cool mindset. And you also need to make sure that you're framing your arguments correctly in such a way that you don't make the argument worse than it needs to be. I call this my dispute diffusing system. It's the backbone of my program. If you want to learn more about the dispute diffusing system, you can just head over to my website, marriageguy.com, and watch the free how-to video that I've got up there. Again, marriageguy.com. And one of the most important tenets of my dispute diffusing system is the word I. So if you've ever watched two people argue, you'll often notice that the word they use most is you. It's always, you always do this or you always do that. And when you use that word you make your spouse feel like they're 100% responsible for whatever it is you're arguing about, or at least you're pushing that onus on them. So that kind of alienation is really just going to make matters worse. So instead of using the word you, use the word I. So say something like, I feel it would be better if we drove the kids to school earlier in the morning. Anything like that, just replace the word you with I. Try it next time you find yourself in an argument with your spouse. You'll see it really can help to keep things more civil and avoid things getting out of hand. And finally, last one here, tip number 4, get professional help as soon as you can. In order to make your marriage whole again, you really need to work your way to the point where you can convince your spouse to seek marital help if you need it. And I know, this video is all about how to save your marriage if your spouse is unwilling to try and to go along with that. But seeking another voice, someone to help out, is often one of the most powerful ways to fix your marriage. Now, luckily for you, you don't have to spend a ton of money on counselors. You can hire me as your marriage coach, assuming I've got spots available right now. And you can do that, of course, without any help or knowledge of your spouse. And if you want to learn more about how to work with me one-on-one and have me as your marriage coach on an ongoing basis, visit marriageguy.com/coaching. You'll see all the details on there, as well as my current availability. I promise you, my coaching does not cost a lot, and it is going to help you stay on the right track and make sure that you are giving yourself the best possible chance of saving your marriage. So again, marriageguy.com/coaching is where you can find all the details. And by the way, guys, if you do have any other questions, comments, feedback, please feel free to leave them in the comments section right below the video, and I will most definitely get back to you. I always do my best to respond to everyone, unless you write War and Peace or something, but otherwise I will get back to you. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. See you next time.